What is up, everybody? It's Brandon from Tattooing 101, and today I'm here with an awesome guest, and that is Jay. He is a military vet, a badass tattoo artist, and a marketing genius. We're going to dive into tattooing, industry changes, marketing strategies, and a whole lot more, maybe including some conspiracy theories. So make sure you stick around till the end of this video so you could get to know a little bit more about how we actually feel about life events. How are you doing, Jay?
I'm well, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. So I guess we'll get this started off with, how did you first get into tattooing, man?
Yeah, so this was probably 2001 or so, kind of dating myself, like 20, almost 25 years ago. I was born in Oklahoma, man, and like tattooing was very much so illegal. And so naturally there's like a draw to it, right? It's like the forbidden pirate life kind of stuff. One of my good friends, Kyle, his brother came home from prison and had been doing prison tattoos, and was kind of showing us his tattoos, and he got some equipment, and I was really kind of drawn to it. Once he got kicked out of the house, we no longer had access to the equipment, so we started making our own with guitar strings and ink from pens and trying to recreate that jailhouse look, man.
All the stuff that we recommend people don't do nowadays.
Don't do any of that, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible to do, for sure. So throughout that period of time, how long was it before you kind of did join the military?
That was probably, I was 15 or 16. Started doing started doing my first couple of tattoos. Got some tattoos that are now thankfully corrected a little bit. It wasn't until I was 18 that I joined the military.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, were you tattooing professionally before you got into the military?
No, not at all. No.
Awesome. So when did you kind of get into actually like tattooing professionally?
I would say during the military. Yeah, so I was traveling around, we'd go on deployments, hit different ports, and I always liked the idea of like having a tattoo or like having a souvenir that you couldn't lose in the form of a tattoo. And so, I started, same thing, I was still like always excited about tattooing. And the more I got tattooed in different ports and things like that, I would just watch them and see kind of how they're tattooing. Started getting a little equipment here and there, back from a Worldwide Tattoo would still sell to us way back in the day,
I remember them, yeah.
And I had some equipment flown in when I was on deployment and started tattooing shipmates and kind of going from there, yeah.
Awesome. So that kind of brings up a really good question about like, how did the military kind of influence the way that you tattoo or the way you kind of got into tattooing?
Yeah, man. Well, I was stationed in Pearl Harbor, which is in Hawaii. And
we were there together. It was awesome.
Yeah. And there's like a really, really strong tattoo culture there, of course, with Polynesian tattooing, but I was still more so drawn to like the Sailor Jerry style. Like we talked about, we drove by his shop there when you were in Hawaii. Sailor Jerry's shop is still there. Of course, he was in the Navy and kind of like the godfather of American traditional, kind of as we see it today. So it was kind of like trying to emulate in one way, shape, or form Sailor Jerry. And like we talked about, like I met his apprentice, met Ed Hardy, and they were saying like where their kind of like their big breakthrough really happened was when they started going to Japan. And so I got deployed, did a little protocol in Japan, started going there on my own kind of as I was getting out. And just kind of like trying to follow in those same footsteps.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Yeah, going to Japan was a pretty great experience too. So if anyone out there has not been to Japan, you need to. It's a place to go. I would highly recommend going with someone that has been there before. I would have been very lost without you, Jay.
It was a blast, man.
Yeah, it was a great time. And what was your first tattoo you ever got?
First tattoo I got was, from that kind of like back in the day before the military, was these terrible little, they're okay now, like the nautical stars over here. They didn't look like this originally, but
first tattoo was a nautical star too on my chest.
Oh,
I'm
sick.
like, I don't know if you could see it, but yeah,
Yeah.
wild. That was like the
Wow.
thing back then. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
nautical stars were super cool. I
20
don't do
years ago,
many
yeah.
nowadays. Yeah,
No.
it's been probably a good 10 years since I've done one.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a minute, man.
So I'm trying to think back of what the first tattoo I ever did was. Do you remember yours?
First tattoo I did?
Yeah, like on someone else.
Oh yeah, man. I vividly remember it because it was so traumatic. It was again hypothetical for entertainment purposes only. Um, we saw when my friend's brother came back from prison, and we saw like how they were doing the jailhouse tattoos. I actually took a guitar string apart and like a big bass chord, and took like the like you can unravel the guitar string and make like a sharp point on it. And then I don't know why of all the options, but I took a gel pen, like the gel ink, and
Oh,
blew the ink
nice.
out from that to tattoo it. And then we built with like a electric shaver motor and like a big actual plastic piece, and made the jankiest tattoo machine you've ever experienced in your life. And for some reason, my friend was down. He's like, "Yeah, tattoo my foot with this homemade contraption." It was brutal, man. It was awful. There was ink everywhere,
What was it?
tears everywhere. It was like this like Sanskrit lettering thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I think the first one that I've ever done was an anarchy sign. Pretty sure that was another cool thing back in the day, like punk rock.
Anarchy.
Yeah. It's also a very traumatic experience because that's before I even knew what good supplies were.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a learning process of trying to figure out why the ink wasn't going into the skin when it was me, for sure. And just fighting with that. So
Yeah.
it's crazy to think back about how things have changed over the years, and like not only with ourselves, like with our art and the industry as a whole.
Oh yeah.
So like kind of wanted to get into a little bit about, how I've talked about this a few times, but how has the tattoo industry changed since you started? Like, what do you see with the industry that's different nowadays?
Yeah, more acceptance for sure.
Mhm.
Like tattooing these days is now a very viable career path for anybody who wants to take it seriously. I think back then, again, this was 20 plus years ago. It was very much like sailors and bikers and gangsters, and is very much like fringe society. But now it's like a lot of fine artists are becoming tattoo artists, and it's like a very safe and comfortable career path for sure.
Yeah. No, it's definitely changing quite a bit. I have plenty of horror stories that I've talked about going through the early stages of my tattoo career. Very,
Oh yeah.
biker kind of outlaw style. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely easier to get into the industry now, and all it really takes is your dedication, and you can make it happen.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you say the biggest positive change that has happened?
I think that is probably the main positive change. I was even chatting very briefly, but with Ed Hardy about this, back in the day, and it was saying like, for him, it was even more of an extreme shift because he was kind of like he's not a biker, he's not a gangster, he's not a tough guy, he's like an actual like fine artist,
Mhm.
and his whole mission was like to make tattooing like more broadly accepted, and I think now like it's really really kind of accelerated with our generation of artists, meaning that because it is so accepted now, there's so much money coming into the industry. Like pretty much everyone has a tattoo, and so because it is much more accepted, we talked about this before, where there's new machines coming out, new equipment coming out. There's like I mean, it's like because the money is there, because the popularity is there, it's easier than ever to become a tattoo artist with good equipment now.
Yeah, and like some of the equipment they're putting out now, like even just the tattooing trays. There's companies like Ghost Tattoo Supply,
Mm.
or Ghost, and they're coming out with some like really cool stuff, like different kind of toolboxes that are made for artists, and tattoo trays, tattoo armrests that are actually like made specifically for those things. Because before armrests, we would go to Harbor Freight, take one of their wood rollers, and make our armrests. Like I did that for the first 10 years of my career, and
Mhm.
nowadays, like they're making stuff for this now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I would say, yeah, the biggest positive is definitely that for sure. I would say, what would you say the biggest negative change that has been?
Um, I think because I mean it really depends on your sort of stance, but
Yeah.
it's because everything is so available now. Like everything is online, and especially for guys who got guys and girls artists who want to put their work out there. Like it's never been easier to kind of get your stuff ripped off either, and it's sort of taking a little bit of like in my opinion at least, like there used to be a certain magic about tattooing because it was so underground and like kind of fringe, and you had to kind of earn it, you know.
Yeah.
Not to be that old guy on the porch like back in my day, but like because stuff is so available, there's a lot of like instant gratification and like fast fashion kind of happening in tattooing, where people are just like copy and pasting stuff versus wanting to become true craftsmen, you know.
Yeah. No, for sure. I would say for me personally, it would be the fact of, everything has grown so much, and people and tattoo artists as a whole that just got into it, like 2 to 5 years ago, it was really booming, and it still is. But, there's kind of a slowdown, right, in tattooing if you aren't on point.
Yeah.
And tattoo artists that have been around for a while, like, you just ride the waves, right? You kind of understand when it's going to get slow and do all those things. But if you're kind of new and you have this false representation of kind of like what you need to do, if you're not proactively going after those things and, focusing on getting better or, marketing yourself, all those things, you could really get put in a spot to where you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say as a whole, just how easy it's been, and people are so quick to talk about, oh, I need to make more money, I need clients to come in, but like if you were doing the stuff and weren't just sitting around expecting those things to happen, it would happen, right? Like
Yeah.
there's plenty of money coming in. I've never gone in the last 2 years, and I've seen this quite a bit more come up to where people are like, oh, I need clients. It's so slow right now. And I haven't seen that because, that I'm always trying to get better and all of those things. So
Yeah.
everyone out there that is saying like, it's slow, it's an oversaturated market, like it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
You just have to actually put in some work now, which isn't for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And I think that was kind of the mentality too back when we were coming up, right? I'm sure you've seen this too, where there was like that scarcity mindset of people didn't want people to become tattoo artists because they were afraid that there was like only a finite amount of pie or cake to eat. And the more people coming in to eat from it would take away like from their family or their shop, whatever. But the pie itself has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. But yeah, I think you're 100% right, man. Is like tattooing, like all industries, does have its cycles and seasons. And for a lot of folks like this, you're right, man. This is the first time they've seen a little bit of a slowdown, but it's still infinitely bigger and better than it was 10 years ago.
You have to think people like tattoo artists have been around for a very long time, and there's people making an unbelievable living being a tattoo artist. So kind of stepping back and looking, what are they doing differently than what I'm doing? Their tattoos look great. They have great pictures.
Yeah.
You should probably be doing that.
Yeah,
That would
exactly.
probably help. So with that, I would say, from your standpoint, with so many tattoo artists out there, what would you do if you were starting tattooing right now to stand out, to kind of show apart from everyone else out there?
Yeah, we talk a lot about this in the community and of course like the inner circle and stuff. Is for a lot of us, I know maybe I could speak for at least us on this call, is we'd rather not be around people all the time and like put ourselves out there and like play the social media game. But honestly, when you're first starting out, you don't yet have that voice that you look for in like a unique tattoo style because you're so new to it, right? That comes with time, putting the reps in and figuring out what you like and what you want to do differently. That comes with time. But the easiest way to kind of stand out and differentiate when you're first starting is to show your face and to tell your story and to show parts of your lifestyle that you're comfortable with, right? We see a lot of folks who are trying to start their Instagram, for example, and they're just posting like screen recordings of them drawing on an iPad, and it's just the design. And it's like, if I came to your page, this could be anybody could have posted this. But if I see a picture of you with your family or with you traveling or with you with your artwork or you with your new tattoo license, whatever, like that's the easiest way to differentiate is to build a personal brand. That's going to help you stand out immediately.
Yeah. And if, there's a lot of not so great tattoo artists out there that are making a good living because they are likable people, because they could relate to their clients. And that's the biggest asset that I would say with any industry. If you're a likable person, you're probably going to go farther than just some dickhead.
Yeah.
It's just a part of it.
Yeah.
So, with like trends and everything in the tattooing industry, like fine line's really big right now, all of those things. What's one that you think is going to die out soon? I'll say one first, so you kind of get the idea of what I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
So, rotary pens have been huge, right, for a very long time. I love my rotary pen. I use it all the time. I'm thinking about going back to coils for my line work.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, but it's or like a Dan Cuban, a rotary style that is coil. But, pens are great. And I've, over the past 5 years, only used pen style machines. And it's kind of like that constant of just trying to make it work perfectly or changing the way I tattoo to make it work. And I'm kind of to that point that I'm like, it's just not there yet, right? Or maybe it just can't be there because with more power comes more trauma. Traditional machines have worked. So I see a lot of artists now that, were strictly rotary, kind of going back to that more traditional style tattoo machine, which I'm definitely thinking about doing.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's one thing I've kind of seen recently about kind of like the biggest trend that everyone jumped on, that people were kind of slowly starting to go back to the old ways.
Yes, I'm here for it, man. I love some coils.
I know.
I think you're right though. Is like it's I think you're right where it's not going to be like a return to like the traditional coils because it's such a pain in the ass, man. Like tuning and I snapped a spring and it's like, man, it's such a pain. So I agree, man. I think that it would be probably like a hybrid type. And then plus, once you have a coil type machine, now you got to have an ultrasonic and an autoclave, and you got to do your scrub tubes. Like, forget it.
No one wants to do that.
So it'll be interesting to see like what kind of, because there's funding now, there's money in the industry, what kind of like hybrid they'll come out with that can hammer in some 14 rounds, but still have like a cartridge or something,
I will say that I've been looking into the Blad. I think that's how you say it, but I've heard really good things about that. I'm excited to try that out because it's kind of like that hybrid style that I'm kind of looking for.
Yeah.
Because I prefer to not go back to just straight coils. I will if I have to. I don't want to.
I mean, you have apprentices now, man. They can scrub some tunes.
Man, all the stories I have, I'm too nice of a guy. I wouldn't want them to go through that trauma.
Man,
they're just not built for it nowadays, man.
Yeah, dude.
I'm completely joking.
No, man. It's true though, man. Like nobody wants to scrub tubes. My friend Vince worked at a shop in Waikiki, and I was visiting him. And what they would do is like in Waikiki, you've seen it. Like there's quite a few homeless people like walking around. And so what they would do is like they would hire this guy to come in and like do windows and like clean the shop up. And then one day he was like, "Hey man, you want to make $20 like to come scrub these tubes?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, for sure, and I'm down, And he's scrubbing the tubes. They just like kind of left him there tattooing, whatever. And then we look over and he had, man, he had after he finished running the tubes through the ultrasonic and cleaning them up, he left the same water in there. And I think he was under the impression that an ultrasonic would sterilize things. And so he ran his coffee mug through the dirty ultrasonic.
No.
He just poured himself a fresh cup of coffee and was just going to town. So yeah, be careful who scribbles your tubes. Yeah, I wonder if that guy's still alive, man.
Dude, he probably cured everything. Like, he is the specimen that we need.
Yeah. Get that anti-venom.
Yeah. Or he has superpowers. He's just not telling anyone, or no one's believing him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just flying around Waikiki.
Dude, that is wild.
Yeah, dude. But no, yeah, to answer your question, I think like the changes I see happening too, it is a lot of assisted tattooing. I think especially on the design phase, right? So we've talked about before, like how you've created references and things that don't exist. Like I want to see like the Egyptian god Ra riding a tricycle around the pyramids. Like it doesn't exist, but you can have AI kind of create a rough reference for you pretty quickly, and now you have a one-off reference. I see more of that happening for sure.
Which will definitely save time as well.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
I do expect some resistance. Like the more that AI kind of comes in, and people might think it's taking away the craftsmanship, but I think if it's done right in like a partnership with the artist versus taking the soul out of the art, I think it can be done well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that, you know, AI will never have the soul, right? And
Yeah.
people talk about AI coming in and robots doing tattoos and stuff, which, you know, I'm all for advances. I'm all for seeing cool stuff, but I am never letting a robot tattoo me. I've seen iRobot. I know what they could do. Okay. Not happening.
Yeah, dude. I might try it just for the novelty, knowing it's going to be a terrible tattoo.
You just let me know how it works out for you. I would be so far away. But yeah, so back on, you know, you're a marketing genius. So we'll go over some what are some creative ways for a new artist to help out, attract some new clients.
Whoa. I don't know if marketing genius is the right word, but I'll take the compliment. No, yeah, I was just pulling up in the background. I feel like, yeah, I was just looking at the robot tattoos. I did a startup in Austin who's actually doing tattoos with a robot
I've
machine.
seen it. Yeah.
So I did. A couple of clicks, you can make a terrible design, and then you can send it over to a terrible robot and get an awful tattoo on your body. Easy.
Or you could go with tattoo artist.
Yeah, I think that's the safer path.
Yeah. For right now. Yeah.
For now. So yeah, getting started with marketing is where you want to go?
Yeah, creative ways to attract some new clients.
Yeah, so it really depends on where you're starting from, to be honest. If you're starting from scratch, and it really depends on kind of what your goal is. So I guess what's the context? Like somebody starting out like brand new, just starting tattooing? Or?
Let's say they've tattooed for a year, just got into a studio, kind of know, you know, they're proficient at tattooing, but they just need to get more clients to put out some more work.
Yeah, it really depends on where your interests are too, man. Because this is kind of where I started in one of the shops I was at for a long time. Is the shop is really slow because in an ideal scenario, the shop has enough walk-in traffic to keep you busy.
Yeah,
that's rarely the case for most people watching this. But in an ideal scenario, that's what's happening. And so for me, I started looking at ways of like, how can I help bring more work into the shop? And so I started looking at CRMs and building out email sequences and running simple paid ads and like building up our social media presence, like all the kind of fundamental things you would expect a business to be doing. And that's kind of what led me to Tattooing 101. And in the short term, it helped me like get a higher percentage or a higher cut in the shop because I was more valuable to them.
Gotcha.
So I think if it's trying to build an audience for yourself, or if it's trying to build an audience for the shop, is going to be slightly different. But I think in either of those cases, you should start building up your personal brand regardless. Because one day you're going to leave that shop unless you own it. And you want to have a list or have a following and have a client list that'll follow you versus leaving all of that with the shop. So yeah, yeah, that's the first thing, man. It's starting to build that personal brand on socials for sure.
Cool. And then the other question I had, I've done this throughout my career, is doing giveaways. Does it still work or is it overrated?
It does. I would say running a giveaway is more of like a long-term game versus trying to get like a short-term cash injection. Give you an example. One of my apprenticeships, I did this kind of like the old school way. I was still kind of apprenticing, and this was before social media was like so prevalent. I printed out like a stack of flyers, and it just said, apprentice is looking to fill his portfolio with good tattoos. So it's $40 for a palm-sized tattoo. I forget what it was, $80 or $40 or whatever it was. $80 for a palm-sized tattoo, first come, first serve. And I went to the Costco parking lot and just blanketed those all across everyone's windshield. And I had a line, bro, like coming out the shop. And I just filled up my portfolio. Just, probably one out of every 3 tattoos I did was portfolio worthy. But I got those reps in really, really quickly. And I built a customer list. And then all those people too, of course, like the conversation a lot of folks miss is like, when someone's getting tattooed, what's on their mind is what is their next tattoo gonna be? And so it's just like bridging that conversation, having that conversation like, hey, we're just wrapping up here, man. Like, so what's your next tattoo gonna be? What are you gonna put in that spot over there? What are you thinking about for your next one? And kind of like getting that person booked in for the next appointment. When they come in for a discounted deal or for a flash special, you're just building that relationship.
Would you rather tattoo with a toothpick and ink or blindfolded?
It makes no difference to me because I'm not the one wearing the tattoo getting done.
Well, I will say that I've tattooed Nathan blindfolded.
I know, yeah.
And it's scary. Like it is a scary thing. So you have to think about that too. Like you could probably cause way more trauma to someone or yourself. Because if you don't know where that machine is, you could accidentally, give yourself a little party dot.
Party dot?
Yeah.
No, I don't. This is interesting, man, because we've each done like a version of this. So Matt, who's done some content for the course, he's been a coach with us and stuff. I actually tattooed Matt with a thorn I broke off a tree in Hawaii and tattoo ink.
That's cool.
And no, it was not because you think about how small a tattoo needle is, it does very little trauma to the skin. When you puncture somebody with a thorn, it leaves a gaping wound in their arm. And so it didn't look like anything, man. So yeah, maybe we could switch. You can tattoo with the toothpick next time and I'll tattoo you blindfolded.
I will say that a toothpick, it would take quite a bit of energy to penetrate the skin correctly.
Oh yeah.
So whatever it would be wouldn't heal up correctly anyway. So
yeah.
If I was going to get a tattoo, I'd get toothpick for sure.
Oh, I don't know, man. Because you're right. There is a lot of pressure required. So we had to actually tap it in or almost nail it in.
Ooh, wood.
So you have the thorn and then you just like
nice
until it punctures through the skin and leaves the mark.
Yeah, I'm going to blindfolded. Yeah, for sure.
Blindfolded, yeah. That's the way to do it, I think.
Yeah. It was a wonderful bonding experience with Nathan. The trust was real. Would you rather be completely covered with tattoos?
Okay.
Or just not have any tattoos forever?
Completely covered in tattoos or have no tattoos?
Completely covered in bad tattoos.
Oh, or have no tattoos.
Yep.
I think I'm already covered in pretty average to okay tattoos.
I'm the exact same.
And I think I would still choose it, man. Like it kind of like it's memories and souvenirs of adventures, I think.
Yeah. I would like a clean slate. I appreciate the memories, but I could have them without them being on my body forever.
Sure.
Yeah. But no tattoos forever. It would be a little bit awkward doing what I do. So
yeah,
there's a little bit.
Let me ask you this, man. Would you still have what we call like the job stoppers, like the face and the hands and the neck, and just have it like everywhere else?
Doing what I do, being a face on YouTube, all those things, absolutely. If probably getting into it, just being a tattoo artist, probably not. Because
Yeah.
they kind of make me stand out more in a crowd, right? Which is
Yeah.
a good and bad thing.
Yeah.
You will notice that the world is split. A lot of people won't take you seriously, even though I know quite a bit about what I'm talking about. People take you a lot less seriously if you have face tattoos. Not the hands really don't matter anymore. Neck doesn't really matter, but on your face,
Yeah.
like it pretty much labels you like you've been incarcerated or
Sure.
you're a rapper or in a band. You know, like I get that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, no, not any of that, but
Yeah.
whatever. So you really have to think about what you want to get into. And not only like I never thought that I would be a YouTuber. I
Mhm.
never believed that. I mean, there was a period of time that my kid talked about that and I was like, you don't want to do that. It's like, why would you? That's not going to happen. And then here we are.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Right.
So life changes, though. All of your views, all of your things, like you have life changes happen all the time. So you have to think about the future too. And
Yeah.
just to have a face tattoo that realistically I don't ever see
Yeah.
because it's on me, it isn't really worth it. You know, the weirdest one that I probably wouldn't have done is my eyelids because it's just so annoying that people are like, oh, do you have tattoos on your eyelids? And I'm like, yeah. And
Yeah.
they're like, let me see. And then I have to
What's it
stand
say?
there like this. And then there's like kind of that half open to where I'm like, are they still looking? Are they done yet?
Yeah.
In the middle of a gas station, I'm just trying to get some Red Bulls. And I'm just like, it's just awkward, man.
Yeah. Do you ever get people who try to like, I don't know what it is, man, but do you ever get people who like try to like test you because like they see you have tattoos and for some reason it makes them feel insecure or something?
No, the only thing that I realistically see is like my daughter will notice it. Like we've gone to the zoo and like people like look at me and like hold their kids closer, and then my daughter will like mean mug them, you know, because she knows what's going on. That's
Yeah.
awkward, but like the whole like trying to, you know, I don't know the appropriate word, like thug up to me because I have face tattoos. I don't really experience it that too much
Interesting. Yeah.
that I've seen.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess
I got that quite a bit in Hawaii for some, because you know tattooing is like a big part of the culture. But
yeah.
I would get guys who would try and like eye me out and like think I'm trying to be tough by having tattoos and
Okay, yeah.
show how tough they are in some weird way.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, it could just be my face. I might just have that kind of face that attracts that kind of stuff. I don't know. Look at this guy.
Yeah. Now I have the most important question to this whole podcast. I personally want to know, and I'm sure everyone else wants to know as well.
Okay.
The first one is going to be, do you believe in aliens?
I do. Yeah, I would say, yeah, absolutely, man. Like,
What kind?
well, I would say from the beginning, like the universe is so big, unless it's some weird simulation that we're participating in, which is another topic of conversation.
We're getting deep real quick.
then yeah, it would just be like improbable that we're the only ones here, unless we're living in a bubble simulation, right?
Do you believe that?
Believe what?
The bubble simulation.
That we're living in a simulation? I think it's very likely that we could be living in a simulation. Absolutely.
So, with that, if we are in a simulation, are there aliens? Or does it have to be one or the other?
Well, let's start by how are we defining aliens? Is it like extraterrestrial? They flew here from another planet or a wormhole or something?
I think if I were to want some sort of aliens, I would prefer it to be like, you know, the second Earth underground. Like that's because aliens from space, that shit is scary. Like they have technology, like it's like
Yeah.
War of the Worlds type stuff. If they're like underground, you know, they're going to be like mole aliens, right? Their eyesight's not going to be great. Like probably a little bit slow. They haven't really worked on their cardio because they're just digging around. I would prefer that. Just kind of like the zombies. I would rather have very slow, mindless zombies than the fast ones. That's a given.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say I I believe that anything is possible,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen one. I've seen a lot of possibles. Like you don't look like you're from here, but yeah, I've never really seen. Have you ever seen anything that the only way you could explain it would be?
I want to say yeah, because back then I thought it was like an alien coming down.
Mhm.
But thinking back, I was living near one of the largest air bases in the world, Tinker Air Force Base. So it could have just been a pilot messing around in the countryside and kind of spotlighting us. That's how my brain is kind of justifying it. So yeah, well, I think that with the alien thing, man, like I've been really closely following like the military encounters, and like they're having all these like congressional hearings and stuff about disclosure. And with the new president, he said he was going to disclose everything when he got into office. So I have high hopes for full disclosure. We'll see what's going
Yeah,
on.
I'll be patiently awaiting for that
Yeah.
as well. Next one, and I'm a big fan of this. Nathan brought it up last night. Do you believe that we landed on the moon?
Ooh. Okay. So
This is deep.
for a long time, I did not believe we went to the moon. It makes way more sense that the moon landing was propaganda for the Cold War to bankrupt the USSR. And a lot of the photographic evidence is 100% fake. Like, but so you can now see some of the Apollo crash sites through like the lunar orbiter and like these other means. People who go super deep say that's even fake. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I can't say. But for a long time, it made way more sense that it was all fake for sure.
I'm kind of on the fence. Like I never really am 100% either way until I know. And to know, I don't think we're at the budget right now to fly me into space yet. But maybe someday I could come back and be like, no, that shit happened. But
Yeah,
as of
man.
right now, I don't know. Yeah, there's two ways. It's we needed to prove that we could have a rocket go somewhere, and then they decided to say it was the moon.
Yeah.
Cool.
Safe flex. Safe
Yeah,
flex.
yeah. But it's hard to say. And yeah, we could see the crashes of stuff, but then who's
Yeah.
to say that there were people on those such things that crashed?
True.
So it's hard to say. But
You can go to space actually for I think it's around 10 grand.
that's
But
not
it's actually, here's the catch. It's only part of your cremated remains. So you have to die and be cremated, and they blast your ashes off into space.
that is way less fun.
That's a
Say
catch,
so.
though, right?
Like, oh yeah, my great great grandfather's been to space. Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any pictures? Yeah, I actually have some of the dust left.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's half of him. The other half is in space.
That's not as much as a flex as I thought.
Yeah. Still kind of cool, though. Still
It
kinda cool.
is. It's cool. Yeah. So with that, we'll have some wrapping up thoughts for everyone out there that has hung around with us,
Cool.
and give some bits and pieces of information to help them along their way of becoming a tattoo artist. So, what's one piece of advice that you would give someone first starting out getting into tattooing?
Yeah, I think two-part. I'm not sure if we went like super deep into like the actual marketing and stuff, but I'd be thinking about that from day one. It's how to actually build like a personal brand and start building a brand around your tattooing and your tattoo lifestyle. Um, there's the obvious things. If you're first starting out, it's do the work, like put into practice. You have to be drawing, painting, tattooing, creating every single day. And therefore you have something to post every single day and build that consistency and build that volume over time. And with that, with creating, it's learning to trust your own intuition, your own kind of like inner voice of what you want to create, but it's also not trying to reinvent the wheel. So finding mentors like Brandon here, who's been a tattoo artist for decades and decades, taught hundreds of artists. It's like having someone to kind of look over your shoulder and help you like avoid the pitfalls that we've all kind of gone down and kind of fallen into. So that's the main thing, man. Put in the work, have a mentor, making sure you're going on the right path, and start thinking about, marketing is a loaded word, but like start thinking about how to document your journey, even from day one when you're starting out and not necessarily proud of the work you're putting out.
Yeah. So with that, apprenticeship or self-taught?
I think again, like it depends on your goals. I think a traditional apprenticeship is stupid. I've done a few of them. I know you've done a couple of terrible ones and like spent years and years like cleaning toilets and mopping floors. I think a traditional like Western apprenticeship is so silly, and especially with like the cost of living and things like that. Now it's really really hard to work full time for free in a tattoo shop in hopes you're going to get some like sacred knowledge passed down to you, and then shocker, it doesn't happen. I think that's silly. I think if you're going to learn, like if you're already a tattoo artist, and again, like I've done this, like the one we talked about in Japan is like I've already being a tattoo artist and then traveling back and forth to kind of like apprentice under somebody for a particular style or technique, or like they know something that you don't know. Like in my case, it was learning a little bit about tabori and like the hand poke Japanese tattoos. That's cool. Yeah, but I'm still like making money as a tattoo artist, but I'm kind of like going over here in part-time apprenticing to learn specific knowledge. I think is okay for sure.
Absolutely. So how can people find you? What is your social media and stuff?
I would say just go to Tattooing 101. I'm still working here every day, mostly behind the scenes these days, but helping our coaching students, helping with the marketing and stuff like that. So just go to Tattooing 101.
Absolutely. And a little teaser for some upcoming projects that we have. We are planning to do an in-person training. So you come out, I'm going to teach in person how to tattoo, and you can see me tattoo live in my studio, which will be super exciting. So anyone watching, make sure you are a part of our email list. That's where we'll kind of release all the information on that. It's going to be a very few amount of people that could be in this first class. So we'll give updates on that going forward. And do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
Research flat Earth. That's all I got. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah, I guess the final thoughts that I would say for everyone is obviously if you're not sub to the channel, make sure you are so you can keep up to date on all of the cool stuff that we have coming up. I have a ton of fun videos. I've kind of been able to come up with some ideas that are kind of out of the box tattooing related that I'm super fun,
Nice.
that are going to be super fun. So I'm excited to do that. And just remember that America was not able to go to the moon in a day. It took time and energy, or it took time and energy to film all the stuff on the ground. But either way, if you put your mind to it, you could make anything happen and make everyone a believer besides maybe us.
There you go.
But thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much, Jay, for coming on and hanging out for about an hour. And that's it.
Great. Good to see you, man. See you on the next one.